Okay, so this part is going to teach you how to come up with the context statement, the context sentence that comes right before the thesis and directly after the background. Okay, so the purpose of the context is to identify like the title, the author or director, or screenwriters if it's a film, the year, the production company, and what the piece is doing in response to your issue or prompt. Okay, so um, you are more than welcome to use like the way that I phrase this. In fact, I would suggest that. So actually I'm gonna start with Disney's um, 2015. So I had to like look it up. 2015 version of Cinderella. Now, because Cinderella is the name of a title, and in this case it's a film, which means it's long. Um, we You have to italicize Cinderella instead of putting quotes around it. If it was like a poem or something, you would put quotes around it. And that's how, like, when the reader reads it, like, it's just kind of a way of identifying that it is like a movie or a novel. Okay, so all right, so Disney's 2015 version of Cinderella. um so I'm gonna put a comma after Cinderella. So then because it's a film, I'm gonna say directed by Kenneth, comma, and written by, because in a film both of those are important. Oops. And then there were two writers, so oops, not Chris. And I'll put both of those surrounded by commas. Now, the way that I found that is you have to Google Disney's live version Cinderella, and then like this site called IMBD is a great site to use, or Wikipedia would work too. But this one gives you like the director, the cast, the year, all that kind of stuff, and that's a great reference tool to use. Okay, so that's how I managed to find all that stuff. Okay, so notice how I set that information off with commas, and then I'm going to say um, uses, or I could use like other verbs you could use would be like illustrates, reveals, portrays. I don't like that though. I'm going to use argues would be another good one, but I'm going to say uses the theme of happiness despite hardships to inspire its audience to be reminded of where true happiness comes from. So the context sentence does a couple things. It identifies the piece, like the title, the author, all that, and it also tells like what the piece is doing. Okay, and usually the piece is doing something because it's answering some sort of a question or some sort of a prompt. Okay, and so this prompt was, what is the theme of Cinderella and how's it developed? So in this thinking, what you're doing is you're identifying the piece, you're giving credit to the author, and you're saying what it does, what it did. Okay, does it argue something? Does it reveal something? And so that's how you do the context sentence. So your introductory paragraph is simply made up of these pieces. The hook. You have to pick a strategy to use for the hook, and remember that the hook captures your audience's attention, and it's about your claim. Next, you come up with a background sentence, and the trick for that is to like just sort of explain your hook. You can ask your brain to kind of do that, and that will trigger a response. Then context is the next sentence, and it might be two or one or two sentences, but all you're doing there is you're referencing the piece and you're telling what the piece did, like what it um, because it did something in response to like the question, the prompt that's being asked of you to write a paper. And then of course your thesis, which you've already completed. And that is all there is to completing the introductory paragraph.